Alright, so the manga 3-chapter special that is supposedly going to tell the story of Frieza's resurrection, or at the very least its own version. I'm not sure how accurate it's going to be to the movie. From what we've seen in the trailers, it looks pretty close to what the movie is going to be like, you know, comparing it to the trailers or whatever. But from the beginning of the chapter, it already kind of seems a little bit weird. Like, from the last time we seen Frieza in Hell and everything, and again, I don't know how much of that was filler because I'm not a big manga guy when it comes to Dragon Ball Z. Don't shoot me, but like I've only been like an anime guy, so, and the anime, you know, of course, had a lot of filler. Toei always been, you know, doing their thing or whatever, so I don't know necessarily what was canon, what was filler. Did we actually see Frieza in Hell? Was he actually watching the television screen or whatever that was, showcasing Majin Buu's final fight? I don't really know what it was, you know, that was canon and what was filler when it comes to that, but I do know that it's crazy as shit, whatever the hell happened to him between the last time we did see him, whether that was filler or not, to where he's at right now in the beginning of this chapter. And also the look, he has the mechanical look, but when we seen him in Hell, I think he just had the normal look of like what he was supposed to look like. And I mean, why would he have the mechanical look in Hell as well? That's another thing that kind of threw me off or whatever. But yeah, him being in that cocoon is like, I don't know if that was just bunch of people kidnapped and tortured him, or he was punished for doing some fucked up shit, so King Yama sent him there. I'm not sure. And then his helpers, which, I mean, I find it laughable, as I said in my video that I was talking about, you know, the spoilers for this, that they're like, yeah, man, Zarbon and Dodori is level. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Krillin would take a shit that is stronger than Zarbon and Dodori at this particular point. Like, come on, please stop. Okay, stop. But, you know, having the helpers and then squeezing Pilaf in there, I'd imagine the movie is going to flesh that out a little bit more as far as, like, how they obtain the Dragon Balls from them and threatening them and whatnot. But basically them getting off their wish or whatever, reviving him. There was some things in, like, because this chapter, it had some things that I honestly felt were problematic. And it kind of just felt a little bit like, and I got to look at it at the same time. I'm looking for, like, One Piece or Magi writing in Dragon Ball Z, which Dragon Ball Z has never been, like, you know, the most complex or most, you know, fleshed out thing or whatnot. So I gotta keep that in mind when I'm reading this. But first of all, Shenron was like, oh, I can't revive him because his body is in pieces. Like, couldn't they just be specific? Can you please bring Frieza back to life in a fully restored of his body? You know, something very specific, all in one wish, nicely, you know, pieced together, whatever. And the fact that Shenron's like, oh yeah, it would be pointless or whatever, just kind of felt a little bit weird. I know there's always been stipulations and certain things you can and can't do with Shenron, but I mean, couldn't he just wish him back, you know, as a whole? Like, bring the soul back to the body and bam. And if I'm correct, at this particular point, wasn't the dragon able to make 2 wishes anyway? Because then they had upped the ante with what they can do as far as, like, you know, the amount of wishes. So couldn't they say, put his body back together, the pieces, and then, you know, have his soul brought back? That way they wouldn't need to possibly even have the mechanical parts, possibly just put his back together completely. But then when he actually was revived into pieces, that's where I was just like, come on, really? Because when Frieza first got fucked up by Goku, he was still somewhat together. His head was still on his shoulders. He wasn't completely in tiny particles or whatever, but how is he alive when his head is cut up into pieces and he's just like an eye on the floor? Like, is it just the mind of Frieza at that particular point that's there, but Frieza himself, like, it just kind of felt a little bit like, what the fuck? Like, how was he alive in a bunch of pieces on the floor? It's not like he was Majin Buu or Cell where he could regenerate and, you know, bring himself back whole or whatever, so he had, like, you know, the nucleus intact that would keep him. It just felt like, how? I don't get that. It just kind of seems a little bit, what? Although I do gotta say, even though a lot of people are hating that Frieza's back, one thing I like about Frieza, he brings back the classic villain. We always get the complex ones, and I love the complex ones. I love my Toguros. I love my Shinobu Sensuis, where it's like there's so much depth and backing behind it, and there's so many different twists and turns behind what they're doing and their motives. Frieza, he doesn't give a fuck. That's his motive. He doesn't care. And at this particular point, I guess you add the revenge thing, but he's a mob boss, black and fucking white. He don't give a fuck. That's it. I'm killing you. You're disrespected. You're going bye-bye. So that's one of the things I can appreciate from Frieza. He's a classic villain. He's evil because he doesn't give a fuck. And then we get a little bit more, which I'm glad that they're adding that in there, and hopefully the movie carries that as well. Like the legend of Majin Buu, when Tagoma and Sorbet are talking about, yeah, he defeated the Majin Buu and whatnot. The thing that kind of makes me go back again and think, like, well, was it canon when he was watching the TV screen of Majin Buu, whatever? Because the way he was talking in this chapter is as if he's heard of Majin Buu, he's known of Majin Buu, but he wasn't, you know, aware of what was going on between Goku and Buu and all the fight that they had and whatnot. So it kind of made me think, like, was that canon? And if it was canon, then that's kind of messing up with the continuity right there, because he would have had to, remember that. And the only people that his father warned him not to fuck with basically was, you don't fuck with Beerus and you don't fuck with Majin Buu. So that kind of also eliminates, as far as like, at the very least, King Cole's knowledge of the other gods. Maybe he doesn't know, because at the end of the day, King Cole wasn't that strong himself. So maybe he didn't know of the other gods out there or whatnot. So unfortunately, that kind of shortens the expansion of the gods for as of right now, at the very least, because I was hoping for more than just Frieza or whatever. I was hoping we would get more gods and all sorts of things, but I guess for King Cole's knowledge, at the very least, that kind of cuts it short. He could have said something along the lines of, he told me never fuck with the gods, the 12 gods, and the Majin Buu, something like that. I think it would have added a little bit more, like, setting up like these gods are legit. And then the explanation as to basically how Frieza is going to get to Goku and Vegeta's power or whatnot. Now, I feel a little bit more receptive to the idea than I first did when I heard of the spoilers, because of the way it was broken down. If you think about it, I sat on my ass my entire life, and I'm pretty much I was the third strongest being in the universe, and I never a day in my life tried. I never gave a fuck. Imagine if I did give a fuck. So in that aspect, I get it. But 4 months, and you're gonna pass from pretty much Trunks being able to kill you in one swipe. You're gonna pass where the androids were, because the androids were ahead of him. All of Cell's forms and Cell, which kind of seems as though Toriyama just wants to forget that Cell happened. I don't know. Maybe he just wasn't happy with how the Cell arc turned out. He's gonna pass Cell. He's gonna pass all the forms of Buu, and also get up to the gods. It just, even though it sounds a little bit more like, okay, he never gave a fuck. Imagine if he did give a fuck. He never gave a fuck and he was strong as shit. Just imagine if he tried. But it's just such a large jump. Maybe we see something. I don't know. Maybe there's something in that training that he finds that also gives him a power up. Because otherwise it still feels a little bit like, how in 4 months of you training you're going to just make that large jump? You're not even a Saiyan. Because at the very least with Goku and Vegeta, you could argue Saiyans, they get stronger after every battle. We don't know about Frieza's clan, but then again, that could be something that could be worked into there. Maybe Frieza's clan, they're even way better than the Saiyans at that, or there's something along the lines of something happens to them, then they grow even stronger. Maybe the hatred, something there can be worked in. So there's still a possibility for it to kind of flow a little bit better. As of right now, I don't stand completely behind what I was saying before, as far as like, oh, that's fucking retarded bullshit. It makes a little bit more sense, but still, can you walk us through it exactly how he's going to jump that far ahead? And also, with training alone, will that be enough to face against the God Modes? Because they stopped recording data on Goku from the Buu stuff. So they don't know exactly how strong he is, because there's a huge difference. We saw it from Majin Buu to Beerus. 2 different levels or whatever. Can he compete with the God Mode powers that Goku stood with after his fight with Beerus with 4 months of training? I don't know. So with all that being said, it felt a little bit, things I felt needed to have better explanations, or just overall something different. But Frieza does give me that vibe that I like of, like, a black and white, I don't give a fuck, I'm gonna kill you villain. Sounds a little bit better as far as like, I've said it already, he's a prodigy, and prodigies, if they gave a fuck, can be even greater than anything. So yeah, hopefully the movie fleshes all this out better than this actual 1 chapter or whatever. But as of right now, I'm rocking with it. I'm not like the biggest fan of how things are going, but I guess it could have been worse. It could have been, I don't know, Frieza ate an apple and it gave him an orgasm and he got powerful or some shit. Let me know what you guys think of all this, though. What do you think about this first chapter? Are you actually going to read it, or you kind of just want to stay away from it? And kind of your overall thoughts of all this that's going on right now. I feel like this is huge, because we're getting a huge sneak peek into the movie before it even hits theaters in Japan, let alone before we get a chance to see it. And yeah, but that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so as well, that'd be amazing. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.